Hi and welcome back to the Jonesy Chats Wrestling YouTube channel. My name is Steve and I'm here to review Tuesday Night Raw. NXT 2.0. Wow, this show was very 50-50. It wasn't the best and it wasn't the worst, but there's definitely a software update needed for NXT at the minute. It's already taken off some of Raw's bad habits as it is, but let's get into it. Show starts off. You've got the 4 contenders for the NXT Championship match coming up later on the night after Joe was forced to vacate due to injury, apparently. Although I'm told otherwise, that apparently it's not injury and it's just WWE didn't want him to have the championship. So take that for what it is, but who knows. It come across as very sort of Dynamite feel, AEW Dynamite feel, with the sort of the coloured graphics and the names, everything about it. But apart from that, I didn't really, that was the only thing that sort of hit sort of AEW notes for me. Otherwise, it seemed to have its own themes going along with the show. We get the 4 promos, and then we get someone called Bron Breakker. Whoever is creating these names for these wrestlers needs shooting, because let's be honest, that is frankly a fucking terrible name. Bron Breakker is Bronson Rick Steiner, who is Rick Steiner's son. He come out to the ring for a match with LA Knight after confronting him, and he kind of looks like a mix between Chad Gable and Mojo Rawley, if in my opinion. But yeah, he just cuts up Knight's promo, and then Knight goes and says, "Oh, well, you get your ass out to the ring, and in 2 minutes we're gonna have a match." And you're sitting there thinking, you're having a championship title match later on in the night. Why would you have a second match? This automatically just screams stupidity to me. This was Raw booking for me. I don't understand why a championship contender would go in for a first match at the start of the night just to have another one later on. It just didn't make any sense to me. And the other thing they need to do, if this show's going to be called 2.0, I'm going to get really annoyed, because I was getting annoyed with it always constantly being on the graphic, NXT 2.0, NXT 2.0. They need to cut that 2.0 out as well. Just call it NXT and stop trying to make it something. Stop trying to make a mountain out of a molehill. We get into the first match, and it is that LA Knight Bron Breakker match. Even commentary are sitting there going, why would you have 2 matches in one night? It really just doesn't make sense. And Breakker wins with a power slam. So yeah, again, you can already tell that LA Knight's not going to win that NXT Championship match later on in the night. He's congratulated backstage after winning the match by about half a dozen wrestlers that you don't even know, because they're just backstage and they're all new faces, and you're like, would have been nice to at least seen one noticeable face there. On to the second match of the night, tag team action. Imperium taking on, this is again where we get on with these stupid names, Josh Briggs and Brooks Jensen. So JB and BJ, and it's just like, seriously, who's coming up with this crap? It's horrific names, Ellen. Nothing special. Imperium win with a double underhook suplex off the top rope. Yes, very sort of blasé match, really. We then cut to Hit Row, who have now moved studio now, because apparently you can't have a dark themed studio. They've done the studio out, it's all painted white and it's all looking pretty and new. They're just hyping up B-Fab, who's going to have her first match on NXT, and that's next. She comes out and she's facing Katrina Cortez, who has previously been on main roster. She, I believe, was in matches with Humberto Carrillo at some point when he was feuding with Angel Garza, I believe. I was very distracted for this match, because in particular there was one guy in the crowd just constantly shouting Hit Row every 10 seconds. He was just going, Hit Row, Hit Row. And I was just like, it's just so off-putting. And it's like, I'm pretty sure it was the same guy that was doing the same things during the wedding thing later on, but we'll get into that. B-Fab manages to win the match, and she picks up her first victory. She then starts waffling on about Carmen Sandiego and Legado del Fantasma. It's just a lot of waffling, and then Legado del Fantasma and Carmen Sandiego come out, and yeah, it's just a lot of waffling just to set up a match between them two at some point in the future. We then cut backstage. You've got Odyssey Jones, Cameron Grimes, Johnny Gargano, all dressed up like Dexter, as I presume they're going to be groomsmen for the wedding. Nice little scene to put, but then they just bring Austin Theory back, and it was kind of like, I was hoping that Austin Theory would come in to do the typical WWE trope of ruining the wedding, but no, he just shows up, and he's brought Damian Priest with him, because apparently every wedding needs a priest, and Johnny's like, no, that's not the right priest. and he's not actually in the thing later on. Like, I couldn't see him anywhere in the production. So yeah, they bring Damian Priest in for a 30-second like promo, and then that's it. You don't see him again for the rest of the night. We then get the most painful segment I've seen in a very long time. Carmelo Hayes comes out to the ring with Trick Williams. Yeah, this promo was horrifically bad. Please, for the love of God, do not put Trick Williams back on a microphone for at least a year, because this was just waffling. Like, they were repeating themselves. I think Trick lost his footing at some point with what he was saying, because he had to repeat himself 2 or 3 times. And I think this threw Carmelo off as well. But they're just waffling on about how Carmelo had won the breakout tournament and what that basically means going forward. They go to leave. Duke Hudson is then coming out for a match. Duke Hudson then runs his mouth to Carmelo because they're matching the breakout tournament. And Trick's like, no, this is what I'm talking about. This is all the disrespect, blah, 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 blah. So they jump Duke Hudson and they beat him up. Trick hits this weird 360 big boot. It looked bad. Please, again, don't just find something else. Just don't do the 360. I don't understand why you've got to spin around in a circle to do a big boot. We then get another short pointer segment where you've got Candice LeRae with the bridesmaid, well, 2 of the bridesmaids, and Indy. They're basically just a little backstage thing where Candice tells Cora Jade to take off her beanie hat. Then on to more tag team action, and here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Here is your Monday Night Raw on a Tuesday. It is the tag team with the longest name in the world, Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter, taking on Gigi Dolan and JC Jane, rather. This is a repeat from last week. So again, here's your Raw coming in. We're doing repeats of matches. I know that these 4 had a match 2 weeks before, but obviously it wasn't 1 week after another, but yet here we are. There was a point where Gigi and JC Jane were talking to Mandy before the match backstage, and Mandy's sitting there like Jack Nicholson's Joker. She's sitting there with her back to the camera and a hood up so you can't see her face, because obviously she suffered this horrific facial injury last week on NXT. This match gets started. Casey and Caden are about to go for a finish. Mandy Rose comes out, and this horrific facial injury has caused Mandy to dye her hair brown. Yeah, okay. That really makes sense that you've sort of played off a facial injury last week and it's just led to a change in hair color. Yeah, they come out, they start beating on Casey and Caden. Saray comes out for the save, and we go to a commercial break. And Raw 2.0, you get a 6-woman tag match after the commercial break. This just stank of Raw. This whole thing involving these 6 women, just didn't want to be part of it. I just was not interested in it at all. On the plus side, Mandy, Gigi, and JC pick up the win, so there's a 1+ there coming from this. At some point as well during this match, we did also get a picture-in-picture video of Kyle O'Reilly warming up. He's attacked by Pete Dunne and Ridge Holland. And then after that match, we cut to William Regal, who says apparently Kyle O'Reilly is no longer fit to compete, so he'll be replaced by the man that saved him, but yet we never saw the man that saved him. And he just introduces Von Wagner. Von Wagner getting an NXT title match in his first night. Sure, if this is the booking, fine. Some random guy that we haven't seen before is getting NXT title matches in his first night. We then get on to the next match, Ridge Holland versus Drake Maverick, who's apparently doing double duties between Monday Night Raw and hunting for that 24/7 title. For some reason, he's come out with Grayson Waller. I don't know what. I presume this is obviously playing off last week. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure that a couple of new superstars have got new music as well, because I'm sure Ridges has changed, and Gigi Dolan's got a sick new tune, which is basically "Sweet Dreams." It's the guitar riff, like the Marilyn Manson version. So I was impressed by that. This match is exactly what it is. It's a squash. It's simple and done. Ridge wins. We then get a Ciampa promo, and this is what I thought was criminal. 908 days since Tommaso Ciampa has been NXT champion. I was shocked to even realize it was that far since, or that long. I know he was injured for a period of time, but still, for Ciampa to not be champion again, I think is a bit of a joke. We then get a promo for Tony D'Angelo, who I presume is part of the Mafia, because that's the vibe he's giving off. And I'm pretty sure they stole this name from me, because I'm pretty sure I used that for a creator wrestler in a WWE 2K game a couple of years ago. But I'll let it slide. We then get more tag team action. It's the Creed Bros with Diamond Mine and their new member, Ivy Nile. They're coming out for a match against Dan Jarman and Trevor Skeely, aka Team Jobbers. It's basically just a good display by the Creed brothers. They dominate this match and win. We then get Malcolm Bivens on the mic. He basically introduces Ivy Nile. She has a diamond shaved in the side of her head, which I thought was really, really cheesy, but she looked pretty mean. I say but the crowd just didn't seem interested at all. The crowd were pretty flat throughout this whole segment, unfortunately. We then get Kushida come out. He's basically returned from injury now, and he says, "Roderick Strong, let's do this." Malcolm Bivens and Kushida challenges Roddy, but Bivens announces it that next week it's going to be Kushida versus Roderick Strong for the NXT Cruiserweight Championship. By the sounds of it, they're going to start making NXT more canon as well, because at one point tonight, the commentary team were talking about Edge and the attack that he suffered from Seth Rollins off of Friday Night SmackDown, which I hope they do, because this is the one thing that irritates me, is that you've got people like Charlotte, who's like an 11-time champion or however many times, but they don't ever include her NXT reigns. And I just think it's a bit disrespectful. But hopefully, Vince and Bruce are sort of running the show, that NXT becomes more canon and we get all these mixes now between the three brands. So hopefully that's one plus to look forward to. Then on to the next match, Pete Dunne versus LA Knight versus Von Wagner versus Tommaso Ciampa for the NXT Championship. Match is fairly good. It's pretty much the same old tropes. Von Wagner has a half-decent display in this. He gets a close pinfall at some point. LA Knight also gets busted open, but I said this on Twitter. I replied to a comment and said, yeah, Tommaso Ciampa all the way. I was right on what I said, especially with Pete Dunne, and no one knows what's happening with his contract stipulation in a minute, and no one knows if he's re-signing, or if he has re-signed. Then on to the main event. Wasn't even a match. It was the long-awaited Index wedding. This is the final payoff to this, the sort of 90% payoff to this Index story, because I presume at some point they'll break up. Some of the wedding guests start coming out. First of all, we have Zoe Stark, Io Shirai, and Ember Moon. They're followed by the Grizzled Young Veterans for some reason, and they sort of pan into them as they're walking in, and they're slating it, and they're saying, "Oh, this is just going to be another typical wedding, and someone's going to start a fight," and they say it's probably going to be Dexter. We come back from the commercial break, and everyone's in ring. Just going through the list quickly. You've got Kushida, Ike Jiro, Mackenzie, the backstage interviewer. She's one of the bridesmaids too. MSK, Casey and Caden, Sarai, William Regal skulking around somewhere in the background with that zombie referee, and a couple of other people that I either don't know or couldn't remember their names, so apologies to them. We then get a cheap Meet the Parents joke as the priest is reading out the full names. He reads out Dexter Gaylord Loomis, and I was like, okay, very funny, haha. It's a pretty naff joke. But then this is what that one guy in the crowd was ruining it for me, because there was one point where the priest asked who's going to be giving the bride away today, and this one guy's just in the background going, no one, and it's just, yeah, shut up, man, just let them do what they're doing. You're just so off-putting, and it's like, oh, just go away, man. I think security must have told him to shut up in the end, because you don't hear from him again, which I'm quite glad of, because he was starting to ruin the segment. The priest then asked for the ring. Johnny then asked Austin for the rings. Austin says, we're in a ring. And then it turns out Ike Jiro, for some reason, has the rings clipped to the inside pocket of his jacket, because he's the only one, strange enough, apart from Dexter, that's in ring attire, because Ikeman's just in his bottoms and his waistcoat for some reason. We then get a cheap laugh. Well, I say we get a cheap laugh. I found this quite funny, to be fair. They do the whole, if anyone knows of any reason why they shouldn't be married, please let us know now. And about 15 people stick their hand up, and Dexter just looks around at them, and all of a sudden he flashes out in the waistcoat. The dude's carrying an axe in his jacket pocket, and he just flashes it to them all, and they all just slowly lower their hands. And I thought that was quite funny, that bit. We then get to the vows. Indy basically calls Dexter a stalker, and Harry never loses a staring contest, which was, again, another cheap joke. The priest then asks Dexter for his vows. Dexter just sticks his thumb up. The priest then kind of gets annoyed, and he's like, surely you've got more to say than that. So Dexter chokes out the priest, and the priest is out for the rest of the segment. So then everyone's like, well, who's going to officiate? They try to get Regal to do it, and out of nowhere, the biggest fan of this storyline, Beth Phoenix, comes out and she says, do you know what? I knew something was like this was going to happen. So last night, I went and got ordained on preordained.com or wherever it was that she says. And so she continues to officiate the wedding. To be fair, Beth is quite entertaining in this because she's got jokes and stuff. I mean, the next point she says, all right, let's just cut to the chase. And Andre Chase, who is another one, stands up and goes, "Did you say Andre Chase?" Odyssey Jones, who's standing behind him, just gets up, puts his hands on his shoulders and sits him back down and tells him basically to shut the fuck up. Indy says, "I do." And then, what did I tell you in my 5 wrestlers that would be ruined by going to the main roster? What's the first thing they would do with Dexter Lumis? They would get him to talk. I know it's only 2 words, but I just think this is stupid. Instead of him, again, just sticking his thumb up or whatever, he actually stops Beth because he's standing there doing nothing. And Beth's like, "Oh, we'll take that as a yes." He covers the mic and he turns around and says, "I do." And there's an audible gasp from the crowd, which because obviously he's never spoke before, but again, this is exactly what I said. It would be the first thing that Vince McMahon does is have this guy talk. So yeah, they've already broke that sort of kayfabe. But yeah, that's the end of the wedding. Dexter and Indy stand there holding their fists up like they've just won a mixed tag team match. Dexter swoops Indy off her feet. The camera then pans out to actually going backstage where you've got Tommaso watching the wedding on the screen. And for some reason, Bron Breakker shows up. Tommaso says, "Congratulations on winning your first match on NXT 2.0. Let's hope to God they lose this 2.0 because it's such a stupid fucking name. And then all of a sudden he sticks his hand up to shake and Bron's just like doing all this intimidating heavy breathing where he's like and he's looking at that NXT title and I'm like, sure, okay. All in all, again, entertaining in some parts, absolutely dire Monday Night Raw in other parts. It wasn't as bad as what I thought it was going to be, so I can take that as a plus. So hopefully this didn't feel too Vince and Bruce inputted. It was just certain things like the women's tag match that turned into a 6-person tag match, and it was like, yeah, this is Monday Night Raw all over the show. But yeah, so we'll see how it goes in the future. But yeah, that's been your NXT review, guys. I hope you enjoyed. You know the deal. Up there for the subscribe, up there for the likes and all that other stuff. Have a good day, and I'll catch you in the next one.